Hello, everybody. My name is Preston, and today I'm going to be talking to you about cryptocurrency. Yeah. All right. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about what cryptocurrency is. Essentially, cryptocurrency functions as a self-validating currency, right? The traditional problem with currency is that you need a way for people to be able to exchange their goods or services for something that has a certain agreed upon value, right? So before currency even became a thing, the way that we exchanged value was a very bargain based system, right? The way that we exchanged value was I said, hey, I am really good at painting houses. How many houses do I need to paint in order for me to get some food from you, Mr. Farmer, right? And that farmer would then bargain with you back and forth, and you would come upon agreed upon value for your services and his goods, right? Well, over the course of time, that introduces a bunch of problems. One of them is, how do you know that one of or both of your individuals are going to keep their word? How do you know that the value of that service or the value of that food doesn't change over time, right? Maybe the farmer has a tough time getting crop that year, and so he only gives you half of the value that you thought you agreed upon before, right? This is the social contract inevitably in goods and services, right? It comes from political theory. So one of the things that Bitcoin does and cryptocurrency does is it provides a way to self-validate the value on an agreed upon currency that doesn't require a third party to broker the transaction, right? So Bitcoin started out as a self-authenticating currency back in the early 2000s and was meant to provide a public ledger for financing institutions to ultimately build their brand, right? If I have a single Bitcoin validating service, then that Bitcoin validating service is going to be just as good at validating the value of the Bitcoin I own as the Bitcoin validating service that you own. This is what Bitcoin mining partially does. Part of what Bitcoin mining is validating different Bitcoin purchases. That does happen in between every transaction, but this is also part of what makes Bitcoin as a service so unique is that there's no third party involved in your transaction to make sure that the actual agreed upon value is what it's supposed to be. And so one of the things that this solves is inflation problems. I'm sure many of us have read plenty of statistics about how the cost of your purchasing power is decreasing day after day because of the current inflation rates that we're experiencing within the United States. This is expected to change within 2022 when the Fed reduces reduces rates in the year 2022, but that doesn't necessarily come as a guarantee. We actually don't know what's going to happen in 2022. There's a lot of very big speculation about what's going to happen with the value of your dollar. Are you going to be able to make rent? Are you going to be able to buy that car that you are wanting? Are you going to be able to finish your degree, right? Like there's a lot of questions that we have that all stem from inflation. And the way that Bitcoin helps to try and prevent that is by trying to have a limited currency, right? So we've already talked a little bit about what fiat currency is. Just a brief overview. Fiat currency is regular dollar that you and me spend on the day-to-day. In the United States, the fiat currency is the US dollar. In China, the fiat currency is the yen. In Europe, the fiat currency is the euro, right? Fiat currency essentially just means normal currency. Fiat currency is generally regulated by the governing body that issues that currency. So in the United States, the Federal Reserve is the governing body that ends up dictating how many dollars are in existence, right? This is why we've seen so many inflation problems, is because they just keep printing money, which is particularly bad. All right, so next, inflation is particularly bad because it affects the lower income and middle income classes way more than it does the higher income, because it's our purchasing power that ends up getting diminished, right? People who have more dollars, the percentage that they are impacted is significantly lower than the amount that you and me are impacted, right? If I live off of $10 every single day and the amount of money that it costs for me to go into the store and buy a loaf of bread goes from $1 to $10 within 3 days, I'm screwed. I don't have a way to go and buy bread. bread, right? And we can apply this to all sorts of produce, right? However, if I have $10 billion and the price of bread goes from $1 a day to $10 a day, then it doesn't matter so much to me because I still have enough money to put my food on the table, right? So as your purchasing power as an individual decreases, we see rates of joblessness and poverty and small businesses die, right? Like inflation is just super, super bad. And so one of the things that Bitcoin and crypto are aiming to try and fix, sorry, I jumped one too far ahead, is so one of the key things about almost every current cryptocurrency that I'm aware of, at least, is that they have a limit, right? This is why so many libertarians or conservatives might tell us that we need to go back to the gold standard, because it meant that every dollar that we had was backed by something. So when I traded a dollar with you, I knew that that dollar equated to some portion of gold, right? But now it's just a dollar. And so that dollar can be inflated or deflated according to the Fed's wishes that day, right? The way Bitcoin is similar to gold is that Bitcoin provides a way for us to have some sort of established value that cannot be inflated by any individual or any governing institution. Bitcoin has a set amount at 21 million. There will never be any more than 21 million, and there will never be any less than 21 million. In that sense, it is impossible for you, me, any governing, regulation agency to go in and try and inflate the cost of Bitcoin. It's just simply not possible, right? So one of the ways that Bitcoin does stay trending is that the amount of Bitcoin that you can mine for, right? Since there's a limited amount in existence, there are mined Bitcoins that are in user wallets, and there are unmined Bitcoins that are in the ether, right? And these unmined crypto wallets, these unmined Bitcoin spheres provide opportunity for each of us to find these cryptocurrencies, right? So that establishes a certain amount of supply. It's a limited supply, and we've now created an established demand for users to generate Bitcoin, right? So there have been a couple of Bitcoin and crypto success stories. I'm sure you or somebody you know has heard of somebody who made it rich with Bitcoin, right? They got a certain amount after mining, or maybe they just bought really low. And then over the course of time, that when the US dollar inflated in price, the amount of Bitcoin that was equivalent in value to that US dollar then skyrocketed. So now somebody who used $10 of their purchasing power back in 2010 now has $10 million of purchasing power in the in 2021 because of how crazy our inflation rates are, right? Pretty cool. Seniors are also using it as an inflation hazard to make sure that their long-term portfolios stay manageable. All right. There are a couple of things that are already making it possible for you as a user to buy and get involved in the crypto space. So if you have Venmo or PayPal, two of the most popular currency sending platforms across the United States, both offer options for you to get involved in the crypto sphere. There are better options, but these are some of the most popular, right? So they'll offer you a chance to get involved at your current purchasing power in the crypto sphere. And I highly encourage anybody that wants to have a decent economic portfolio within the next 20 years to get at least some, right? Go and get $10 worth of Bitcoin today. If it's the only thing you've heard of, just go and buy $10 worth of Bitcoin today, right? Don't worry about whether or not it goes up or down. Just remember that you're establishing your own purchasing power within the crypto space. You can also use a few of these other services in order to buy cryptocurrency, like Discover Card. Coinbase is a great one for you to really get in deep and to learn about the way that crypto works. And Crypto.com recently minted their own NFT coin, which is kind of cool. But these are just some good ways for you to get started within the crypto sphere. All right, thank you everybody for your time. I've gone a little bit over, but I hope you learned something today. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of your day.